Even as a teenager, Morgan struggled with digestive issues and went on a 10-year journey of trying to find true healing. She finally found a practitioner that was willing to help her answer her main question: why? Battling back to health from a leaky gut and chronic Lyme has led Morgan to a vibrant and healthy life. She has no more SIBO, no more fatigue, no more constant sickness, and no more digestive issues. This journey put a fire in her to help others find root cause healing as she did, and led her to open her own practice, 3 Pillars Wellness. She is a certified holistic nutrition consultant and gut health practitioner, helping others find true healing and live an abundant life. You'll love hearing her inspiring story, and you'll love all her great tips for how to take control of your own health, find a provider that's good for you, heal the gut effectively, and what not to do in your health journey. If you love this episode as much as I think you will, share it with a couple friends, especially if they share the same struggles that Morgan had. It'll be like sharing a dose of hope. Welcome to the Daily Wellness Podcast, where you can learn about healthy living and be inspired to take the next step in your wellness journey. I have a certified holistic nutrition consultant with me today, Morgan Lewis. Thanks for joining.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm just gotten to know you a little bit through content and some business stuff that we've been doing, and I love your story so much. Do you mind sharing that with us? Because I think so many people are going to relate with that.
Yes, absolutely. So I originally got into nutrition consulting through my own gut issues, and not, dissimilar to other people who have been down this road, but I was basically gaslit by different medical practitioners for a really long time. I think it took me upwards of 10 years to figure out what was really wrong, which resulted in finding out I actually have chronic Lyme. But before that, it started at different phases. And the first thing that I noticed was gut issues. I had such bad bloating, heartburn. I would get these episodes where I couldn't even stand. Like, I would feel like I had heartburn, but had to lay down. I was hot. I was tired. I just did not know what was going on. And I went to conventional doctors. They pretty much dismissed me, told me I had anxiety, which, yes, anxiety plays into gut issues, but this was not anxiety. And it wasn't until I found an integrative practitioner who actually ran testing on me as when I got some real answers. I had such bad gut health because when I was sick as a kid, all of the time I was just given antibiotics over and over, alongside being given a really bad diet. As a kid, that the two things combined really put me into a bad situation. I did not have enough good bacteria in my gut to kind of crowd out these viruses or things I would come in contact with. I always had strep throat. I always had an ear infection. I had mono. I had to get my tonsils out. It was just, the list went on and on. And I always remember thinking to myself, why is my immune system so bad? Like, why is my immune system not working? And lo and behold, now knowing what I know, the immune system is so tied to your gut health. And when your gut's off, your immune system is off. So, all signs were pointing to my gut. Just no one around me was giving me that information until I kept searching. And so when I did my first round of testing, I had severe leaky gut, which was actually making me really sensitive to a lot of foods. Though what people say now is food sensitivities, that was what was happening to me. And notably, eggs was a big one. And that's a big offender for a lot of people. I was eating eggs, I think, 3 times a day. So I was not giving myself any grounds for healing, because I was loading myself with food that currently, at that time was giving me so much inflammation. And until I actually healed my gut, healed the leaky gut, focused on digestion, was I able to reincorporate new foods. And what I wish I had known earlier, I guess, is to not stop, searching for answers, but also that everything's tied into gut health, right? And, we both know this, and we can kind of chat about this today, but everyone kept trying to diagnose separate things. And I was sent to an endocrinologist, sent to a GI, sent to all these various practitioners who weren't looking at the body as a system. And there's no fault into why our medical system is designed the way it is, right? Like you had to eventually have doctors who could specialize and kind of break it off into different sections, a cardiologist, a gynecologist. It makes sense when you think about it. But when you step back and start thinking about the body as a whole, everything's connected. Your gut health plays a role into your thyroid health, which plays a role into your energy and your metabolism and your weight and your vitality, which plays a role into your liver function. And so everything is connected, and it's really a disservice to look at the body as separate functions. And that's something I'm really passionate about today, is teaching a lot of my clients, it's not weird that you have fatigue and thyroid issues when your gut health is off, because it's all connected. And so until I started learning that was when, all of the pieces started coming together to make that puzzle of clarity of like, wow, I can actually find healing, and it starts with my gut, but all of these other symptoms are not unrelated. They definitely tie together.
Yeah. About what age were you kind of in that 10-year span of looking for different doctors like that?
Oh man. I think it started when I was like 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really young. Like I remember even packing my own lunch going to high school, and I was eating like kale and quinoa, and, I was gluten-free really early on, dairy-free later on, but I've since incorporated dairy into my diet because I can tolerate it. But I just remember, like, as a kid, I always felt different than other kids, and I never really knew why. And I think that's powerful too, because it's like you're fed this narrative that you can't be healthy. But until I found the answers, I was able to live and have like a vibrant life. I just didn't know that that was possible for me, because I thought I had to deal with these issues my whole life.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like we are taught that, it's kind of given you as a label, and then that's just who you are and what you have to kind of deal with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So what, like during that 10-year span also, like how did that feel emotionally for you to go to all these different doctors and not heal?
Yeah, it was frustrating, right? And it's so unfortunate because a lot of clients I work with, they find me because they've been failed by so many other practitioners. It's unfortunate. There are really great providers out there, but if you know in your gut that someone's not helping you, you need to find someone that's going to hear you out. I think the biggest thing is like being dismissed. That happened so many times to me. And every time that started happening with a doctor, I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to find someone else that's actually hearing me. And there were some great doctors along the way. They just did not, I think, scale out and think of root cause healing. And I know this is something I always talk about, but they were targeting overgrowth. So they were targeting SIBO. They were targeting things in my gut, but not looking at the big picture and asking why. Why are those things there in the first place? And if you're not stepping back to ask why, you miss a lot of the causation and keep people in that hamster wheel of healing, which is the biggest thing I'm always trying to pull people out of. Like, let's fix it once and for all. I don't want to keep you stuck in this loop of symptoms flaring, managing those, then going back to symptoms flaring, managing it. We want to actually stop that process and ask why, find answers, and then fix it.
Yeah, I remember you saying that finding root cause healing for yourself is one thing that really brought you into the practice that you do today. And one thing that you do with your clients is you really focus on that root cause healing. So what does that process look like for you with your clients? How does that happen?
Yeah, great question. So when I say root cause healing, I think it's kind of a vague term in a sense, but I'm not even sure what else to label it. So here we go. In my opinion, root cause healing is actually finding the why behind the symptoms and then giving you tools to support your body to fix it. So for example, if someone's having bloating, okay, I can give you digestive enzymes. I can give you HCl to support your stomach acidity, but let's take a step back and ask why. Are you eating in a stressed state? Are you experiencing an overgrowth in your gut that we need to get rid of? Do you have a parasite? Do you have candida? Those are like the root causes to the dysfunction. And so I use a lot of diagnostic testing because I found that when I was practicing without these tools and tests, I was getting people like 70% better. And then that last 30, we were like, I don't really know. And so I went through additional training to run stool test, blood testing, a SIBO test if needed, and food sensitivity testing. most all of my clients do a stool test, and then we'll add on other tests as we see fit, just depending on the severity of symptoms and what else is going on, their budget. These tests are expensive, so we always take that into account. But the biggest thing, and I was reminded of this last month, is that I've run about 10 stool tests this past month, and every single client has come back with different results. And it just supports that notion of there's not one unique protocol that you can do for every person. Every person's protocol needs to be tailored. Some people have poor fat digestion. Some people aren't, producing enough enzymes to break down carbs. Some people have candida. Some people have H. pylori. Some people don't have enough good bacteria. Some people have too much. And it just was like a really good reminder that we are all so unique. And so if someone is not personalizing it for you, wherever you are in your healing journey, that is a big red flag, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's so smart. I think it, in the long run, actually saves you a lot of money to spend the money on the testing, because if you don't have that, then you're just taking a shot in the dark. Like you can make an educated guess, like it may be in the range of these things, some kind of deficiency, like you just don't really know. Like, and so you're spending money trying all these different therapies or supplements, and until you finally find the right one.
Absolutely. And that's what happened to me. I kept getting tested for SIBO over and over, and that test is so expensive. If anyone is listening that has done it, it's like over $300, and it's really actually inaccurate. It's hard to nail down because there's so many things with the collection of the data that can skew it. But the practitioner I was working with never asked why. Why does this person keep relapsing? We've gone through 3 rounds of antibiotics and herbals. Why is SIBO still there? And so that's the thing I'm always pressing on, like, why? And then we dive deep. And exactly as you said it, if you test once, the right testing, and you really double down and commit to healing, you really don't need to do the test again unless something weird happens. Like if you get sick while you're traveling, these anomalies that we're prone to. But yeah, typically once and done unless you need to retest. But yeah, I agree. Test, don't guess. That's always my philosophy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really great. And so beneficial for your clients, like such a great service you can offer to give them the fastest results possible, because nobody wants to feel sick forever. And so in your story, you mentioned how your gut health was so important. Like you noticed all the immune function symptoms or dysfunction, maybe I should say, but then connected that back to your gut health. Can you kind of explain why gut health is so important? I thought it was really funny. I actually saw a post of yours that was like, gut health isn't a trendy thing or something along those lines. And that just made me laugh because I had said something similar. Like it is kind of trendy to talk about right now. Like a lot of people are kind of throwing around the term gut health, and but it's not. It's like essential.
Like yes, absolutely. I was thinking about this the other day because the wellness world has such a great way of capitalizing on these trends. And then it feels kind of exclusionary, right? Like if you're not doing the gut health things, are you in on the trend? And gut health isn't trendy like it is right now, right? It's a huge market. There's all these products between foods, CPGs, bloat pills and teas and powders. I mean, every ad I get served on Instagram is another like promise that it's going to heal my gut. And at the root of it, gut health is everything. It is your health. It's your vitality. It's if you're a woman and you're looking to conceive, it's your fertility. It's your hormone regulation. It's your mental health. So many people who have anxiety and depression, their guts are a mess. And when you start looking into it, your gut is your second brain. We have a gut-brain axis. We have this thing called the vagus nerve that connects from the base of our brain to our gut. And it helps us, have all these connections between neurocognition and our gut health. It's so true. Follow your gut instincts. These are all real things. And in society, I feel like we've been trained to just push our 9-to-5 jobs. Obviously pre-pandemic, everyone was commuting. It's a little bit different now, but we all had this moment of collective pause, and people had time to relax and be at home and cook their food. And it was such a nice way of, reconnecting with how to take care of ourselves. And now we're back in this fast-paced world and everyone's cramming everything in that we missed. And I loved that time in a weird way. Not obviously everything going on, but being able to slow down and not feel like I had to be somewhere, do something. It was so awesome. And my gut health was actually so good. I was like in the best shape I'd ever been in because I was controlling everything I ate. And I know people in my family and friends also agree with this. And people forget that we're sensitive beings. Like we absorb other people's energy. You know, there's studies that you absorb the microbiome of people you're around if you share a home. Like if someone's on antibiotics in your home, you can actually reduce your gut health during that duration while they're on it because, they're assaulting their gut microbiome and you're in that vicinity. Like we are microbes. And so, yeah, it's profound. And I mean, I'm absolutely obsessed with it. I can go on a tangent, but, from it of like, we as people need to realize that we were given tools. Our body's very smart. It wants to heal. And we've come really far away from like nature and what's natural and what was given to us as food to eat. You think about our ancestors who were primal. They foraged for berries. They ate meat. They were in nature. They went to sleep when the sun went down. They woke up when the sun, rose. And we forget, like, we're in such a society that's so fast. We're busy with jobs and tech and all these things. And I think if people can kind of step out of this and realize we have the tools, our gut health will thank you because we're not meant to be eating processed food. We're not meant to be stressed all the time. We're not meant to be on, and so there's so much that's taken us out of this like gut health. And that's why it's a trend, right? Because everyone's so far away from it and it's given to us on this silver platter of like this aha thing that you can achieve, but it's much more simplistic. You don't need all these fancy, expensive products. It doesn't need to be marketed. It's true healing, true health. That's how I think of it.
Yeah. So that's kind of your approach, is just to really get back to kind of how our bodies were made to live.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it takes the confusion, right? Everyone's like following diets and programs. And if diets worked, you wouldn't have to go on another one, right? Every year there's a new program to do. They're fads. They make money. They entice you. It's novel and new. Nothing is fun about eating the same foods every day and working out and, getting 8 hours of sleep and drinking water. Like none of that is novel and new. It's not exciting. We gravitate towards things that are new and promise these like extreme outcomes that we all want. We all want to feel healthy. We all want to feel energized and have good health and good skin and good gut function. And so it's like this little marketing nugget that's like, oh, we have this new product, come try it out. But if you actually dumb it down, what is health, right? It's sleeping, it's making sure you're going to the bathroom, it's drinking good water, and it's eating real foods that don't have a long list of ingredients. Obviously, you can supplement with good, processed foods, but that's, in my opinion, like the easiest way to maintain healthy gut health, healthy lifestyle for longevity.
Yeah, I love that. I know your practice is called 3 Pillars Wellness. Can you kind of explain to us the significance behind that name?
Yeah, I learned this a lot. I'm always reminded of this, but there's so much more than to just gut health, right? When I was on my gut healing journey, I constantly got stuck. Like I would get maybe 70% better, and then I couldn't get that last 100. And I started realizing that it's your body and your mind and your spirit. Like it's all of those things connected. You can't have ultimate healing until you have power over your thoughts and actually believe you can heal and, break free with past traumas, depending on the person, and also having like a good outlook. All of those things are so important. And when I started doing a lot of work on my nervous system and mindset and, working through past traumas and things like that, that was when I actually found like ultimate healing. And so it's so much more faceted. And I like to bring that up with clients. It's lifestyle, it's mindset, it's all of those things. So I think body, mind, spirit is like the perfect 3 pillars to encompass in health.
In your journey, what was the significance of the mind and spirit part as your body was healing? Like were some significant kind of turning points in your healing on that side of things?
Yeah. I feel like for a long time, I was kind of in a fight with myself. Like I was always like, why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? Why am I anxious? And I had to kind of accept that like some of the stuff going on was causing those feelings. And until I could actually fix the root, like I was just going to kind of have to make peace with not feeling great every day, like maybe being anxious one day and like learning how to work through that, like sitting in the discomfort. That was one of the big realizations. And then the second was like living in alignment with my body. Like for so long, I just felt like I had to work out. It felt like a chore. And like I finally accepted, like, no, like movement doesn't need to be forced, right? It can be peaceful. It can be a celebration of all the things your body can do. It can be a moving meditation to clear your mind. Like there's so many ways to view all of these beneficial things we can do for our body. And when I was healing, it felt like everything was a chore. Everything was a task. And when I finally had that mindset shift, it was really profound for me.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Just thought it might be helpful for the people listening to kind of get a glimpse of how that all works together.
Yeah, absolutely. And people might be listening and being like, oh, like, how would I even know, if I'm not living in alignment or things like that. And I offer them, maybe the advice of sitting through discomfort, like stop trying to reach for your phone, like let yourself be bored, be friends with yourself, like figure out what you actually like to do. We've all, like as adults, I feel like we've lost hobbies. Like hobbies are so fun. I'm trying to get back into those myself too. And also just like having quiet time. I really think that's powerful. Like I try to not be on my phone Sunday mornings and just like have a slow morning to reset, maybe do some breath work, meditation, things like that. And when you have more quiet and peace, you actually like more stuff comes up that you can reflect on and work through and think about. When we're constantly on our phones and not allowing ourselves to get bored, it's hard to actually sit with your thoughts. And so that was something too that was helpful for me.
Oh, absolutely. That's such a good tip. Like our world is so fast paced and entertaining that we don't sit with our thoughts very often. I think that's really wise. You mentioned a couple things that I thought would be good to clarify. Like, I'm not actually sure if you talked about it in your story or if I read this on your website, but the whole like IBS diagnosis, that's one thing that I think, as I understand it, is kind of an umbrella diagnosis for a host of digestive and, type. Is that right?
Yeah. So this one bothers me. I'm just going to be upfront.
Well, it kind of bothers me too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. And what it really is, in my opinion, and what I've seen is that it's a grouping of symptoms. So it's a really easy way for a provider to label you as something, right? You have bloating, you have heartburn, you have indigestion, you have diarrhea, you have IBS. But what that's missing is that's a grouping of symptoms. Okay, great, but why? So if someone has IBS, what's the solution? You're just going to label them as IBS and give them a medication? That's not really doing anything. And so in my opinion, I believe IBS stems from very different things than conventional providers. I believe it can happen from an overgrowth of a bad bacteria. I think it can happen from parasites. I think it can happen from candida. I think it could be if someone has really dysregulated nervous system. They're more prone to having IBS because they're never getting their body in that rest and digest mode. They're constantly in fight or flight, not having enough good bacteria. And so all of those are actually root causes that we can say, hey, you have IBS now, but you don't have to have IBS forever. Let's like break up with that diagnosis, because so many people come to me and they're like, yeah, I was diagnosed as IBS, and they think it's something they have to live with forever. And it's not. It's something you can fix. And so, the biggest thing too with that is you get diagnosed as IBS when you're at a gastro, and then they send you for a colonoscopy or endoscopy. They're like, I would honestly argue that 90% of the people that come to me that have had a colonoscopy or endoscopy did not need one. They're in their 20s, they're in their 30s, they have mild symptoms, and the provider just didn't know what to do. And they also get a kickback on performing these tests. And don't get me wrong, some people may need them, but the majority of people who are young and just given an IBS diagnosis do not need those tests. And so if you're listening to this and you have been given that diagnosis and the only solution they have given you is to get, whatever provider you're seeing is to get an a colonoscopy or endoscopy, I would encourage you to find other providers that will do other things before. Those are serious tests. You have to prep for them. It's not just like a blood test or a tonsil swab for strep. It's definitely more invasive and not needed for everyone.
Mm-hmm. So if someone has that diagnosis or struggles with some of the things that you mentioned as you were telling your story, like what would you recommend to them as a way forward?
Yeah. So I would first get really real with yourself about stress and see how you can manage that. That's a huge factor in a lot of people's lives. And sometimes we go through life, we're like, oh, we're not stressed. And then you actually take a step out and you look at your life and you're like, oh, I've got a stressful boss. I have to be on my computer at 8 a.m. I don't sleep more than 7 hours. I don't have time to make food. Like those are all little stressors. Second is look at your diet. Are you eating vegetables? A lot of people think they are, but they're really not. They kind of like supplement everything with a packaged grain or fruit. A lot of people eat a lot of fruit, and fruit is not bad, but we're supposed to have 2 servings of fruit a day and like 5 vegetables. And so I typically see a lot of people eating like 5 servings of fruit and like 2 vegetables. So we need to swap that. And then the third is find a provider who takes a different approach, who looks at your body as a system, who will run appropriate testing. The stool test that I use is really different than what gastros use because what they use is something called microscopy. So if you think about like looking at a sample and you just swab it and smear it and look at it under a microscope, you're not really getting a full accurate representation. And so there's different tests that can sample different sections of your stool to get better insight. And it's not a sexy topic, but it's just the reality. And so a lot of people will come to me and say, I did a stool test, nothing came back. And then I test them and we find a host of things. So finding the right testing, I use a test called the GI map. That's really helpful. So things like that. Yeah. But also you have the power, right? Before you have to go run out and find a provider, look at stress, look at diet, filter your water, get good quality sleep, make sure you're not dumping a bunch of, chemicals and artificial flavorings from your food into your diet. The body just cannot process all of that. So those are really good starting places, I think.
Yeah, great advice. 3 questions I always ask people. And the first one is, what healthy living resource would you recommend? And I know you have several, so if you wouldn't mind sharing about yours, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I actually have a free gut health guide on my website. My website is tpwellness.org. Sorry, I always get that confused. And it's an 11-page guide. It's for the person who's like, I have gut issues. What do I do? Where do I start? It talks a lot about what digestion is, how to support it, how to make sure we are giving our body ample nutrients to break down food. So that's a really great resource. And I have some supplement recommendations because I know the supplement world is so confusing and saturated.
Yes, we were talking about that earlier with like the gut health trends, as like probiotics are one thing that is just insane.
Yeah, that's a whole follow-up episode. And I actually went to an all-day seminar on probiotics the other week, and it was really profound. So a lot of good stuff there. But yes, probiotics are everywhere. But spoiler, taking a probiotic is not just going to solve your gut issues. So that's a big thing too. And then I think there's so many good coaches online. And I say this because follow people that resonate with you, and you don't have to agree with every single thing they say, right? Everyone's got their own philosophy, but start learning and take tidbits. I post a lot of free resources. I always like to share stuff that I'm doing because I just think it's helpful for people to see, like, I'm actually talking the talk and walking the walk and what I'm eating, and it doesn't need to be complicated. And I think learning from people and just seeing the foods they're eating, the supplements they recommend, why, I think that's really helpful too. And I'm always learning from other coaches as well on Instagram.
Yeah, that's great. And do you meet with people virtually?
Yes, I'm 100% virtual.
Okay, great. I'm just making sure. I can see people like maybe wanting to reach out to you that aren't in your area. So
yes, we can absolutely work together. I do everything virtually, so it's really nice.
Great. And what about your favorite healthy snack?
Yes, this is a great one. I'm in my protein era right now. I am trying to eat a lot of protein. So I love like a hard-boiled egg, like 2 hard-boiled eggs with some hummus and some carrots. I love apples with peanut butter. I'm like obsessed with these cosmic apples. I don't know if you've ever had that
I have
flavor.
seen them, but I haven't tried them. So now I have
They're
to.
so good. They're like not as tart as a Honeycrisp, and they're not super sweet. They're like the perfect combo. I'm just obsessed with them. And then I love putting hemp seeds on everything. Yeah, I love hemp seeds. Yeah.
Yeah, good fiber, good protein. And they're so mild, they go with everything.
Yeah, they're like a little nutty, so they're really good on peanut butter too, or almond butter.
I love this. I always talk to people about their snacks, and then I want a snack.
I was listening to your podcast, and I loved what your most recent guest said about, someone said, like, they don't snack, they just eat food. And I loved that. And so I'm going to try to incorporate that a bit.
Yeah, I do think, like, I ask people about healthy snacks, and, my take on healthy snacks is, if you feel like you need a snack during the middle of the day, like, make sure it's something that is actually healthy. Like, I'm very much against the whole snack food industry, but something like you mentioned, like 2 eggs and carrots and hummus, I mean, that's something that you could have as a meal. So think about snacks as a way to get extra nutrients into your body as you would a meal, not prepackaged, processed.
Totally. And there's also snack. Yeah, like the supplement bar industry, like those bars get so crazy because they become like as caloric as a meal. And think about it, you could have a protein bar, you could have 2 eggs, carrots, and hummus. How much more bulk bang for your buck, more food, more flavor. And so that's what I'm always focusing on too, like actually having more in a meal instead of like a little tiny protein bar.
Yeah, I know. And I have teenagers, so I'm always needing things that are actually going to fill them up. And then my third question is, who would you love to see as a guest on the Daily Wellness Podcast?
I was seriously struggling with this one because I feel like you've had so many good guests thus far. But I think it would be interesting to maybe talk to someone. I've actually been working with a hypnotherapist, and I think it's really profound, like mind-body connection and like the subconscious. And I've actually been doing some hypnotherapy, and it's kind of changed my life. And it's like a very quick snippet. So I think that could be a kind of cool topic to talk about how like the subconscious affects our health and things like that.
Yeah, it kind of goes into your 3 pillars concept.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. Send me the info on that if you have someone specific in mind. That'd be great.
I will. Her name is Brooke. She's fabulous.
Awesome. So anything else that you really just wish people knew that we haven't talked about yet? Anything on your heart that if you had a crowd of you'd be like, you guys.
Eat real foods. That's my ending statement. As you said, like you have a bone to pick with the snack industry. We're not meant to eat foods out of a bag, a package. They can absolutely be a part of a healthy diet, but 80% of what you eat should be real foods. And I see this all the time when people go gluten-free or change their diet, they freak out what they can eat. But if you take a step back, all the foods in the grocery store on the perimeter, right? The dairy, the protein, the vegetables, the fruits, the produce, nuts, seeds, it's all natural and real. And so if you are looking to change your gut health and want to do one simple thing, just eat real foods.
Thanks for listening to today's episode on the Daily Wellness Podcast. We hope that you found it helpful for your own wellness journey. And if so, we'd love for you to leave a review. Then come back and listen for review shoutouts on upcoming episodes. For more information, check out the show notes and connect with us on our website, dailywellnesscommunity.com.